Rain fell in silver sheets over exit 41. Under a flickering light, a woman in a reflective vest stood alone at the fuel pumps, calm as still water. She was not what she seemed. Behind her, a silver truck idled in the dark, guarding a secret worth more than her life. A patrol car rolled into the lot. One officer looked at her and decided her skin was reason enough for suspicion. He had no idea what he was about to unleash. In 14 minutes, his life would come apart. The rain came sideways off the interstate that night, hissing under the canopy of Coles Gas & Go, exit 41, Ashford County, Georgia. It was 11:40 on a Tuesday in October. The light over Pump 6 had a failing ballast. It buzzed and flickered like something that could not decide whether to stay lit. A woman in a high-visibility vest stood at the diesel island, a clipboard wrapped in plastic against the rain. She was in her mid-40s, medium height, braids pulled back under a soft, faded Kestrel freight cap. Her name tag read Ray. She drove a battered pickup truck with a cracked windshield and smelled of diesel and burnt coffee, because that was the plan. She had smelled that way for 26 months. Every 40 seconds, without ever seeming to, her eyes touched the silver Peterbilt parked at the far edge of the lot. Engine running, lights on. Bellevue produced, the door read. There was no produce inside. There never had been. Danny Cole, the 19-year-old clerk, would tell reporters later that she came in most nights, bought the same coffee, tipped $1, never said much. Just a quiet woman who worked the lot. At 11:44, a patrol car turned off the exit ramp, headlights smearing through the rain, and rolled into the lot. Officer Derek Malone had 11 years on the job and a stick of cinnamon gum in his cheek. He parked crooked across 2 spaces near the air pump, the way he always did, because no one had ever told him not to. In the next 14 minutes, he was going to make the worst decision of his life, and nobody at that lot, not even him, would see it coming. Malone keyed his radio and told dispatch he was checking a suspicious person at Coles. Dispatch asked, "Suspicious how?" There was a pause before he answered, "Just checking it out." There had been no call, no complaint. Danny had not phoned anyone. The only people watching that lot with any real intent were the woman at the diesel island, the men in the silver Peterbilt, and now Officer Derek Malone, who had seen a black woman standing alone at a fuel pump at midnight and decided that was a situation requiring police. He got out, put on his hat against the rain, and walked toward her, thumbs hooked in his belt. The flickering light over Pump 6 threw his shadow long across the concrete, then swallowed it, then threw it again. "Evening," he said. It was not a greeting, it was an opening move. The woman turned. She kept her hands visible, clipboard in her left, right hand loose at her side. "Evening, officer," she said, her voice warm, flat, and completely unbothered. If you knew what to listen for, you might have noticed how practiced it was. Malone did not know what to listen for. "You work here?" "I work the lot for Kestrel Freight. Dispatcher and yard check. Contract trucks fuel here overnight. I log them in and out." She tapped the vest. "That's the fashion statement." He looked at the vest, the clipboard, the cracked windshield of her truck, and his jaw worked the gum slowly. Something behind his eyes had already arrived at a conclusion and was now walking backward, looking for a reason. "Kestrel Freight," he said. "Never heard of it. Out of Marietta. We're small. You want ID? It's in the truck, glove box, with my worksheet. I can walk over there with you and get it. Slow and easy. Everything in plain view." She said it calm as a flight attendant, because she had said sentences like it 100 times in training, and because staying alive in her line of work was mostly a matter of never surprising anybody. Malone did not move toward the truck. He moved half a step closer to her instead. "Here's my problem," he said. "I've worked this exit 11 years. I know every trucker, every clerk, every dispatcher who comes through here, and I have never once seen you. I work nights. Started in the spring." He smiled without anything in it. "See, what I usually find this hour is somebody hanging around a fuel island who doesn't buy fuel. Working, all right, just not the kind of work that goes on a clipboard." She let that sit for a second. The rain ticked on the canopy. 50 yards away, behind Malone's shoulder, the Peterbilt's running lights glowed steady, And inside that cab, a man named Vasco was watching this entire conversation through the rain-streaked windshield. Every second this uniform stood beside her, 26 months of her life bled a little further into the wet concrete. "Officer," she said, still pleasant, "I understand you've got a job to do. Mine's in the glove box. Let's go look." "Did I ask you to tell me my job?" His voice rose a notch. The gum stopped moving. "No, sir." He pulled his flashlight and put the beam on her face, though the canopy lights were plenty, and held it there, the way you do to a person when you want them smaller. "What's your name?" "Ray Turner." "Date of birth?" She gave one. It matched a Georgia license, a lease on a one-room apartment in Ashford, an employee file, and a story built by people whose entire profession was building stories. It would have survived any records check ever run. But Malone did not run it. Running it would have ended this, and some part of him, the part with 9 civilian complaints in 11 years and not one sustained finding, did not want this to end. This was the part of the shift he liked. "Turn out your pockets," he said. "Am I being detained?" That did it. 4 quiet words from a black woman in the rain went through Derek Malone like a current. Danny, watching from behind the register, saw the change through the window, picked up his phone, and started filming. That is why the world would later see what happened next from 2 angles. "Am I being?" Malone repeated, and laughed, looking around the empty lot as if calling on a jury. "You watch that on the internet? You get that off a video?" He stepped in close enough that she could smell the cinnamon and wet polyester of his jacket. "Let me educate you on how it works out here. This is my exit. Midnight comes. I decide who's suspicious, and I've worked this lot long enough to know exactly what your kind comes out here at midnight to sell." There it was, the whole rotten spine of it, said aloud on 2 cameras by a man who had never once paid for a sentence like that. The woman who was not named Ray Turner breathed in once, slow, through her nose. Diesel, rain, cinnamon gum. She thought of 9 faces pinned to a corkboard in Atlanta, the youngest 15. And she made the decision she had made every night for 26 months. The mission mattered more than her pride, more than her anger, more than her own skin. "Officer," she said, "I'm going to reach into my vest pocket slowly, with 2 fingers, and take out my phone. I'd like to call my dispatcher. He can verify my employment in about 30 seconds, and we can both get out of this rain." She telegraphed it. She announced it. She moved her right hand toward the vest pocket at the speed of a minute hand, 2 fingers extended, palm angled out, textbook, saying the words as she moved, 2 fingers. Derek Malone grabbed her wrist, wrenched her sideways into the pump, shouted, "Stop reaching! Stop reaching!" and pepper sprayed her from 8 inches away. Full in the face, the world went orange, and then it went away. Her eyes slammed shut and would not open, no matter what her brain ordered, because the body overrides everything to protect the eyes. Fire went down her throat and into her chest and turned her breath into broken glass. She went down on both knees on the wet concrete, coughing in long, tearing strips, her face rain and mucus and burning. Above her, a man's voice shouted, "Stop resisting!" At a blind, kneeling woman, her arms were pulled behind her, the cuffs went on, ratcheted twice past snug. The cold of the concrete came up through her jeans, and the flickering light over pump 6 went buzz, dark buzz, through all of it, through the fire and the blindness. One part of her mind stayed cold and separate, the trained part, the part that had kept her alive in stash houses and truck cabs and motel parking lots, and that part was listening to one sound only, an engine dropping into gear at the far end of the lot. The Peterbilt was leaving. She heard the air brakes sigh off. She heard the diesel come up. She heard 8 tires roll slow and careful past the fuel island, close enough that the ground trembled beneath her knees, and she understood, kneeling, cuffed, and blind in the rain, that Vasco was looking down from that cab at the lot lady getting arrested, and that whatever he concluded in the next quarter mile would decide whether an operation called Firefly had a heartbeat by morning. The truck reached the ramp. The turn signal clicked, absurdly lawful, and the silver Peterbilt pulled onto the interstate and dissolved into the rain, carrying 26 months of her life away at a legal and prudent 60 miles an hour. Officer Derek Malone, for his part, stood over his prisoner, feeling the way he always felt afterward, which was tall. He keyed his radio and told dispatch he had one in custody, female, resisting. Dispatch acknowledged. He snapped his gum and looked down at the woman coughing at his feet and said the thing that would be played over and over in a federal courtroom, in slow motion with captions. Should have just shown me some ID, sweetheart. Out here, your kind gets exactly one warning. That was it. It was 11:58. He had been on that lot for 14 minutes. He felt fine. He had at that moment roughly 6 minutes of his old life left. It started small, the way avalanches do. The phone in her vest pocket began to ring. Not her personal phone, the other one with exactly 4 numbers stored in it, and the ringtone was nothing, a plain factory chime. It rang and stopped, and rang again, and stopped and rang a third time. Any agent in the world knows what 3 consecutive calls on a covert phone means. It means your people are watching. It means stand by. Malone pulled the phone from her vest, looked at the screen, said, "Your dispatcher's real eager," and silenced it and dropped it on the hood of his cruiser. Then his radio spoke. "Unit 12, Ashford 12, go ahead." A pause. Radio pauses have textures, and this one was wrong. Even Malone heard it. When the dispatcher came back, her voice had lost its late shift boredom entirely. "Unit 12, be advised. We have received a call on the recorded line from the duty officer at the FBI Atlanta field office. They are ordering, and I am quoting them, that you stand by at your location, render aid to the female in your custody, and take no further enforcement action. Supervisory personnel are en route. Copy." The rain filled the silence. Danny's video catches it perfectly. 19 seconds where Derek Malone does not move at all, one hand resting on the roof of his cruiser, the flickering light going buzz, dark buzz across his face. You can watch a man's entire skeleton try to reject the information arriving in his ears. "Ashford 12, he said finally. "Say again, who called?" "The FBI 12, Atlanta field office." The duty officer stated, and here the dispatcher's voice did something almost gentle, almost sorry for him, that the female at your location is one of theirs. On the ground, kneeling, blind, burning, cuffed. The woman turned her ruined face up toward where she knew he was standing. Her eyes were swollen to slits, streaming, and she still could not open them. So she spoke to his silhouette, and her voice came out scorched, quiet, and absolutely level. "Officer Malone," she said, "you should answer your radio." Across the lot, a gray panel van that had sat by the propane cage all night, a van Malone had walked past without a glance, opened its side door. 2 men got out. They did not run. They walked fast, flat, and terribly smooth, the way people walk when running is beneath them. The one in front, a big man in a rain jacket, already had his credentials out and up at shoulder height like a lantern. "FBI," he said once, not loud, and the word crossed 40 feet of wet concrete and hit Derek Malone in the chest like a thrown brick. "Supervisory Special Agent Marcus Bell. Step away from her. Step away from her now." Malone stepped back. It was involuntary. His body did it for him. Bell dropped to a knee beside the cuffed woman, never fully taking his eyes off Malone. Hey, I'm here. Talk to me." "The truck," she rasped. That was the first thing she said. Not her eyes, not the cuffs, not the fire in her chest. "Marcus, the truck rolled northbound. 3 minutes." "I know. Dill's already on the phone to Tennessee." A pause and then, quieter, the professional stripped away for 1 second, just one. "God, Cam, your face. It's pepper spray. It's not a bullet. Get these cuffs off me and get somebody a mile marker." And that was how, standing in the rain at Cole's Gas and Go, 4 minutes past midnight, Officer Derek Malone learned that the vagrant, the suspicious person, the woman he'd sprayed and cuffed and lectured about her kind, was Special Agent Camille Hayes, Federal Bureau of Investigation, 13 years in the Bureau, 4 of them buried so deep undercover that her own mother believed she managed freight in Marietta. Learned that she was the case agent at the center of Operation Firefly, a 26-month, multi-state investigation into a trafficking ring moving women and girls up the interstate corridor in the sleeper cabs of produce trucks. Learned that the lot he thought was his exit had been, for over 2 years, a federal surveillance zone, with more coverage on it than a bank vault. And learned, though it would take him a little longer to fully absorb, that the badge was the least of his problems. Because you can apologize to a badge. You cannot apologize to a silver Peterbilt doing 60 in the rain, cargo behind the sleeper curtain. Gone. Malone's mouth opened. She wouldn't show ID. She matched A and it died right there. Because there was no rest of that sentence. There had never been a description. There had never been a call. There was nothing to match except the color of her skin and the hour of the night. Every person on that lot knew it. And worst of all, standing in the buzzing light with his gum gone flavorless in his cheek, Derek Malone knew it too. Here is the strange thing. The thing the internet clipped out of the longer video because it complicated a story that played better simple. While Agent Bell worked the cuff key, Derek Malone moved, not away, but toward. He went to his cruiser at a stumbling jog and came back with a bottle of water, and he went down on both knees in front of Camille Hayes on the wet concrete. His hand shook so badly, the water jumped in the bottle. Tilt your head back. Ma'am, look up. Don't rub it. Don't rub. He poured the water across her eyes in a slow, careful line, inner corner outward, exactly the way he'd been taught at the academy 14 years earlier, and cupped his other hand at her temple to keep the runoff from carrying the pepper back in. He kept saying, barely above a whisper, I got you. I got you. It was impossible to tell whether he was talking to her or to himself. She let him do it. Water was water, then the bottle was empty, and there was nothing left in his hands at all. Agent Bell took him by the arm, not roughly, and moved him back, and the moment closed over like water over a stone. Whatever Derek Malone might have become in a different life, one where somebody had stopped him 9 complaints ago, flickered there for 30 seconds on that concrete, and then was gone. The machine was already moving. It does not care about flickers. They came off the interstate at 12:21. 3 black SUVs, running silent, no lights, which is somehow worse than lights, rolling into the lot in a slow, staggered line, stopping in a formation that was not parking, it was containment. Doors opened almost in unison. Danny Cole, still filming from the doorway, whispered, "Oh my God," on the recording, and you can hear his hands shaking. The woman who got out of the lead vehicle was in her 50s, silver at the temples, a dark raincoat over a dark suit, and she did not hurry through the rain, because the rain apparently had not been cleared to touch her. She walked the way people walk when they have delivered bad news to families for a living, and learned long ago that speed only frightens people. Assistant Special Agent in Charge Diane Whitfield, FBI Atlanta. She went first to Camille Hayes, who sat on the bumper of the ambulance that had arrived 4 minutes earlier, saline lines washing her eyes. Whitfield bent and spoke with her privately for 90 seconds, nodded twice, and touched her once on the shoulder. Then she straightened, turned, and looked at Officer Derek Malone. People described that look differently. Danny said it was like watching somebody read a menu. Agent Bell said later, in testimony, that ASAC Whitfield was the most procedurally correct person he had ever worked for, and that what happened next was, in every particular, procedure. Maybe that is what made it terrible. There was no anger anywhere in it. Anger would have meant he was a person to her. This was inventory. Officer Malone. She let it sit. Derek, middle initial Ray, Derek Ray Malone. I'm Assistant Special Agent in Charge Whitfield, FBI Atlanta Field Office. At this moment, you are a subject in a federal civil rights investigation concerning deprivation of rights under color of law, and a subject in an obstruction investigation concerning interference with an ongoing federal operation. Do you understand what I've said to you? Aye, ma'am. If I could just explain. That was a yes or no question. The brain. Yes, ma'am. Is your body-worn camera active? Yes, ma'am. It will remain active. Agent Bell is going to take custody of your duty weapon, your pepper spray canister, and at the end of this conversation, that camera. You'll place your weapon on the hood of your vehicle, muzzle away from us, using 2 fingers, slowly. Here Whitfield paused 1 beat, the only decoration she allowed herself all night, the way Agent Hayes offered to show you her phone. The video of what followed has been watched, at last count, 41 million times. Derek Malone, 11-year veteran, reaching down with 2 trembling fingers and lifting his own pistol from its holster like it was hot, laying it on the wet hood of Unit 12, handing over the pepper spray canister, half empty now, which went into a paper evidence bag, a young agent, labeled in the rain, hunching over it to keep the ink dry. Standing with his hands visible at his sides, feet apart, the exact stance of every midnight motorist he'd ever put in that stance, while an agent patted him down, while cars slowed on the exit ramp to look, while the flickering light over Pump 6 lit him up and dropped him into dark over and over. Dark. Buzz. Somewhere in the back of his mind, a small, useless voice kept telling him this was the kind of moment that happened to other people, to men he had arrested, never to a man wearing this badge on this exit, that he had owned for 11 years. He tried 3 times to explain. Each attempt was worse than the last, and Whitfield let him talk, which he did not understand was the trap, because his camera was running, and every word was evidence. He said she wouldn't identify herself, and his own footage showed her offering twice to walk him to her ID. He said she reached suddenly, and the footage showed a hand moving at the speed of a glacier, while her voice announced every inch. "Ma'am, you weren't there," he said finally, disastrously. "This lot at midnight, you get a feel for who belongs." He said it like it explained everything, like 11 years on an exit ramp had taught him something no training manual could, and for a moment he almost seemed to believe it would work. Whitfield looked at him for a long moment through the rain. "Agent Hayes has spent 26 months belonging on this lot, officer. She belonged here better than you did. That's rather the point of her job." At 12:50, a tan sedan pulled in fast and parked badly, and out of it came Chief Harold Perry of the Ashford Police Department, 61 years old, in a windbreaker over pajama pants, his face the color of the concrete. He had been chief for 9 years. He had personally signed off on the last 4 complaint dismissals in Derek Malone's file, each one with the same phrase, "Officer's account credible." And some part of him must have known, crossing that lot in the rain with FBI agents parting to let him through, that those 4 signatures were now federal exhibits. The chief's conversation with Malone lasted under a minute, and Danny's camera caught most of it. "Chief, they're twisting this whole thing." She was, "Derek." One word, and it landed like a coffin lid. "Don't say anything else. Not one more word, son. You hear me? Not to me. Especially not to me." Perry's voice cracked in the middle of it. He steadied it, and he held out his hand, palm up, and it was shaking almost as badly as Malone's. "Badge and ID card. You're suspended as of now. It's not a discussion." Derek Malone, in front of the pumps he had patrolled for 11 years, unpinned his badge with fingers that would not cooperate, took 3 tries at the clasp, and laid it in his chief's palm. The moment it left his hand, something went out of his posture, some scaffolding, and he seemed to get physically smaller. A big man in a wet uniform that was now just a costume, standing on a lot where he had no more authority than the squeegee bucket. Camille Hayes watched it happen from the ambulance bumper, a saline line still washing her left eye. She did not smile. People wanted her to have smiled afterward. The story is better if she smiled, but Agent Bell was standing next to her, and he said she never did. She watched the badge change hands, and then she turned her head north, toward the interstate where the taillights had gone, and she said one thing, so quietly that only Bell heard it. 26 months, she said. He cost me the truck in 14 minutes. Which is why the badge, the suspension, the shaking hands, the water bottle emptied uselessly onto her burning face, all of it was still the least of Derek Malone's problems. Because at 1:15 that morning, a highway patrol unit found the silver Peterbilt abandoned at a dark-way station across the state line. Engine still warm, sleeper curtain open. Cargo gone, transferred in the dark to vehicles nobody got a plate on. 9 women had been the operation's projected recovery. That night, they were loose in the dark of 3 possible states, in the hands of men who now knew, because they had watched it happen through a rain-streaked windshield, that the lot lady at exit 41 was federal. The Bureau does not do rage. The Bureau does math, and by sunrise, the math on Derek Ray Malone was catastrophic. What happened over the following 18 months happened the way federal consequences always happen. Slowly, completely, and in writing. The Department of Justice charged Derek Malone with deprivation of rights under color of law and with obstruction of a federal investigation. His own body camera was the government's first exhibit and its best witness. Prosecutors played the footage at half speed for the jury, 14 minutes of it, with a transcript on a screen. Jurors were seen leaning forward, then away, then forward again, as though the footage was something they could physically flinch from. When it reached the words, "Your kind gets exactly one warning," the courtroom was so quiet you could hear the air conditioning, and one juror, a retired schoolteacher, would later tell a reporter that the silence lasted longer than the sentence itself. His attorney's argument that Malone could not have known she was a federal agent was dismantled in a single sentence by the prosecutor, a sentence that ran in 40 newspapers the next morning. "He's right," she told the jury. "He didn't know she was an FBI agent. He knew she was a black woman alone at midnight, and that was all he needed." The jury deliberated 5 hours, guilty on both counts. 41 months in federal prison, and when he walks out, he will be a convicted felon, permanently barred from carrying a badge or a firearm in any of the 50 states. The city of Ashford, population 11,000, settled Camille Hayes' civil claim for $4.7 million, the largest payout in the county's history, a number that required an emergency bond measure and made the front page of the local paper under a headline that read simply, "14 minutes." Hayes donated the majority of it, publicly and traceably, to 2 organizations that run recovery services for trafficking survivors along the interstate corridor, and to a scholarship fund at the State Law Enforcement Academy that pays for de-escalation instructors. She kept some. She never apologized for that either. When a reporter asked why, she said, "Because my eyes still don't handle sunlight right. And that's not free." She said it once to one reporter and never explained it again, no matter how many times the question came back around in the months that followed. The Department of Justice opened a pattern or practice review of the Ashford Police Department. Investigators pulled 11 years of stop data from Exit 41 and found what such reviews always find. The numbers had been sitting there the whole time, waiting for anyone to look. The department signed a consent decree. Body cameras with tamper-locked activation, mandatory within 90 days, 214 hours of retraining across the roster, an independent auditor for every use of force report for 5 years. Chief Harold Perry retired 8 weeks into the review, citing his health, though nobody in that council chamber believed the timing was a coincidence. His 4 signatures on Malone's dismissed complaints were read aloud, one by one, at a city council meeting by a councilwoman who paused after each date, letting the silence between them do the work that outrage could not. Then there is the part of the story almost nobody predicted, the part Camille Hayes calls the interest on the debt. Because Derek Malone's body camera, running through all 14 minutes of his catastrophe, had been pointed at more than her. Deep in the background of his own footage, across the lot, the camera had caught a man stepping down from the passenger side of the silver Peterbilt to watch the arrest. 40 seconds of him, face raised, lit twice by the flickering lamp over Pump 6. Bureau analysts pulled the frames, cleaned them and matched them. The lookout, a man Operation Firefly had chased for 2 years and never once photographed. That identification rebuilt the case file from the ashes. 14 months later, at a way station outside another state line, a joint task force stopped 2 produce trucks and arrested 11 people. Out of the sleepers came 9 women, alive. 11 years of Derek Malone's badge never caught those men. 14 minutes of his shame did. At Malone's sentencing, Camille Hayes gave a victim impact statement that lasted under a minute. She did not talk about justice, or race, or forgiveness. She stood at the lectern with a single index card she never looked at, and she said, "Your Honor, on the night in question, I needed 4 more minutes at that fuel island. That's all. 4 minutes. And that truck stops at my lot instead of a way station 14 months later. I've done the math on what 14 months means for the 9 people in that truck sleeper, and I'd ask the court to do that math too, because Mr. Malone never will. He was only ever good at counting to 1 warning. Then she sat down. Malone, given the chance to speak, stood in his orange jumpsuit. "I want to say to Agent Hayes," and stopped and looked at his hands for a long moment, hands that had once poured water across her eyes in the rain, and said, "I keep thinking I'd have seen it if she was," and stopped again, forever, because the end of that sentence was the whole crime, and some part of him finally knew it. These days, Camille Hayes teaches a 2-day block at the Bureau's training academy, undercover operations, threat assessment, and one afternoon session that isn't in the official catalog, the one the trainees call Exit 41. She plays them the footage, both angles, Danny's phone and Malone's chest camera, synced side by side. She passes around a paper evidence bag, signed out specially for the class, with a half-empty canister of pepper spray inside, and makes every trainee hold it while the audio plays. When it ends, there's always a hand up, and it's always some version of the same question. What would you say to him now if you could? She always looks at the bag for a second, hands it to the next row and says, "Ask me something about the work." Last October, a year to the week, she drove down alone in the rain and pulled off at Exit 41. Coles Gas and Go looked the same. Danny was behind the register, 20 now, a little broader in the shoulders, and when she came through the door in a plain jacket with her braids down, he recognized her before the door chime finished. Neither of them made a thing of it. She poured the same coffee from the same burnt pot. He slid it across and said it was on the house. She put $5 in the tip cup anyway, the way Ray Turner used to. Danny looked at the 5 and looked at her and said, "Come back anytime, ma'am." His voice only caught a little. Outside, the rain ticked on the canopy, and an Ashford PD cruiser eased through the lot on patrol, a young officer at the wheel, a woman checking the islands the way you're supposed to, slow and unhurried. She gave the lady at pump 6 a small nod through the wet glass, then drove on. Camille Hayes stood there a moment, coffee warming her hands, at the exact spot of concrete where her knees had been. She looked up. The light over pump 6 had been fixed. A new ballast, somewhere along the way, probably an invoice nobody thought twice about. It didn't flicker anymore. It just burned steady and orange, straight down through the rain, onto the clean, wet concrete, and she stood beneath it and drank her terrible coffee until it was gone. Then she screwed the cap back onto her tank, got in her truck, and drove north. Behind her, the light stayed on.